Chapter 7-3, Lid Pogo Adapter. We just finished doing the soldering for the LED and the leads that from the LED to the Pogo pin adapter, this magnetic adapter. You want to make sure to grab one, or not the adapter, the connector. One, you want to grab the connector that has flat pads on the side. You do not want to use the one that has the short spring-loaded pins on there. I prefer this method because when you take the lid off and you set it on a counter or surface, you're not risking damaging the pins over repetitive cycles like that. So now we're just working with the bare pads. Those are going to go in the lid, and we're going to be soldering the wires to those. But let's do this step in order here. Also grab the adapter that has the cutout on the long side of it, not the cutout on the corner. The corner of the cutout on the long side, that's going to be pointed to the wire channel that goes in the lid. So we're going to start by rotating the one set of pins here so that they touch each other. And I'm going to put them a little bit out to the side, touching each other, just out of the way. I'm going to make sure that they still fit into this adapter properly. And as you can see, they're not quite touching the edge of the plastic, so this will work fine. The reason for, and we're going to flux and solder those two pins together. What they do is they close a circuit so that when on the other adapter there's going to be two separate wires. So when you put the lid on, it sees this closed circuit and it will trigger the controller to wake up and perform its play cycle, whether it's on battery power or plugged into the wall. So I just added some flux to those two pins, and I'm adding some solder. Be careful. There's magnets on the side of these connectors, so you want to be careful not to let the iron tip get away from you. It will be drawn to the one of the magnets on the side. It always does. So you want to be careful not to damage the black housing by allowing that tip to go to the magnet and then start melting the black portion around the magnet. Now we're going to prepare to do the soldering from the soldering to the Pogo connector. So slide the leads, the bare leads that are connected to the LED, slide them from the bottom opening of the adapter in through to the top side of the racetrack. As you see, the LED does not fit through that hole. That's why I've got to do this step now. So we're just going to slide that adapter all the way up to the LED, and the leads are coming out the top racetrack side. Because when we're done soldering the leads to the connector, then we're going to slide the adapter up and the connector will slip into its racetrack housing. And we'll have it oriented the way we want. I've placed the Pogo connector in the helping hands already. And grab a slice of that heat shrink, blue heat shrink, this narrower one, and I'm going to cut it in half. We don't need much heat shrink for this connection, so I like to conserve and use only as much as we need. And as following the guides, is solder the dark LED lead to the inner pin, the inner remaining pin of the connector. So we're going to slide the heat shrink on there and out of the way. And we're going to get this wire into the helping hands and try to get it lined up so it's against that inner remaining pin. And there we go. And you know what? I'm going to dab a little flux onto that pin as well, so that it takes the solder really well, because I only want to have to do this once. There we go. That's all it took. And the wire is in there. And now next we're going to do the other wire connected to the remaining outer leg of that connector. And I might have to adjust where things are here. I want to be careful not to damage those legs of the connector. They will rotate. You be careful. You can rotate them carefully. You just don't want to break them. They will break if you bend them, which is why I used to try doing that. But now I say just, you can rotate them, just don't try bending. As you see, I didn't get any flux on there, and it's really not taking the solder. So I'm going to reflux now that whole contraption on that leg and pin and get some more solder on my tip and just touch it for a second, and hopefully things flow smooth. Oops, see, the tip was drawn to that magnet, so I just pulled it away fast, and it's fine. And now that that solder has time to cool, and we'll remove it and see how it looks. And that's not too bad. Yeah, that looks just fine. We don't have any. We have these pins over on the side, which are shorted intentionally. They need to be. But these two solder joints we just did are not shorted. And it's a good solid connection. Excuse me. So now I'm going to slide this heat shrink up. And you know what? I'm going to try doing it the way some of you are probably going to. Try using a little bit of fire. But carefully, because you don't want to heat up. Where's that center? You don't want to heat up that black housing. But it's also not, it's a tight space. So I'm just running that. Well, that magnet sticks to everything. Okay. I don't need to get it wildly shrunk. It's shrunk enough to stay in place now. So when you put this into the lid, if you need to bend these, they're still not going to short out. Actually, I see now, if you look close, let me see if I can zoom in here. If you look close, it is kind of short to shorting. It's kind of short to shorting right there where the light wire is close to the dark wire pin. So I'm just going to see if I can touch that up a little bit and get that out of the way. See if I can move it without destroying all the work. Nope. Time for a do-over. So I'm set up to do this over. I've got the connector back in the helping hands and the wire redone and in the helping hands. And instead of the wire being on the inside towards the center of that connector, I'm going to put it a little bit on the outside so that it's not risking being close to shorting again. And then give it some heat. Careful of that magnet, which it just tried sticking to again. A little bit of blow for good luck. And now you can see it's a good connection. And it's further away. You can see there's a lot more spacing from that solder. It's not close to the dark lead pin anymore. So that looks good to me. We're coming up on the last step of this section and get this out of the way. So now you see, now the next step is we're going to slide that adapter back up to the connector. And we're going to angle it. It's going to want to angle. Oh, I got to turn it around so that the pins face towards that opening on the side. There we go. And now you can see that we've got the adapter, or the connector is flat in the adapter. And we've got the leads for the LED sticking out the side of it. We've got the resistor on the long leg of the LED so that we don't blow out the LED later. But again, that's the LED. This resistor is only for the 2.6 version boards. 2.7 and beyond don't need a resistor. And we look at the underside and we can see the pins are clear of the side openings and they're not shorted. Everything looks groovy. And the last step is going to be getting some hot glue in here to make sure that everything holds in place, that the connector stays inside the printed adapter and doesn't lift out from magnetic pull when you remove the lid. And it'll also help prevent any bending or wear of these leads coming out. And I've used the glue. I don't like to use it in this space. It's already cramped enough here. I've placed glue in the inside edges against the connector and against the adapter wall on both sides so that it holds the adapter, it holds the connector in place. And I've also put some additional hot glue across the tops of the leads where they're soldered onto the pins of the connector. And if we take, if we look at the flat side and we take the mating connector there with the pins on it and we press it against, we don't even have to press it, it snaps right in there. And when we pull it off, the connector stays in its housing, in the printed adapter housing. So mission accomplished for this portion.